I want to do something. I want to help him.
You know that's not how grief works.
I'm failing.
Failing at what? This is not a test.
Being, you know,
I don't.
who I'm supposed to be now. How can I be a rock for someone in a moment like this?
Thomas doesn't need you to be a rock right now.
He needs a firm footing to walk on. Everything just pulled out from under him.
This is the way of all the earth. For now.
Loss?
You know the truth.
I can't just tell him this is the way of all the earth.
And maybe don't say anything at all. Would words from Thomas have helped you after you found out about Eden and the baby? You have experienced loss. That makes you more able to go and simply be there with him, rather than being the rock.
You have suffered loss, and you have the ability to just sit there and be with him because you have experienced that as well. Well, right there, Jesus is saying, be the lighthouse. When Simon is saying, I want to be the rock. Oh, wait, I mean Peter. Welcome back to Through the Lens. Today we are going back in time, season 4, episode 4, and we are covering a massive moment in the entire season of season 4, right after Rama's death, and really Simon, who is now Peter, grappling with his new role and how to truly show up for Thomas in his grand moment of loss. So strap yourself in. Today we are covering all things how we don't want to look at the darkness and how we struggle to allow ourselves to be the light because it feels uncomfortable. We see that. I'm going to call him Simon. I know his name is Peter now, but to be honest with you, I just still see him as Simon. So Simon, right here, he's like, Jesus, I'm really struggling. I'm struggling to know how I can show up and be the rock. And in that moment, Simon is saying, like, he knows what's best. He literally says that what Thomas needs right now is a firm foundation because everything has been pulled out from underneath him. But is that truly the case? Yes, that is what would appear to be the case in the illusion. That is what we would believe based on our past narratives and stories. But that's what has gotten us here, is the I know mind, and that is what has gotten Simon here. And truly Jesus reflects back to him and is like, is that what he really needs in this moment? You've been in that moment when Eden had the miscarriage and how all of a sudden you lost your faith, or so you thought in that moment, but what you really did was you turned your back. You turned your back to Jesus and God and went along with the ego belief system. And right now you have an opportunity to be the witness for Thomas. What do I mean by that? You're like, Ashley, you always talk about witness. To me, witness is being the mirror of truth, being the reflection of Christ within the midst of what appears to be darkness. So often, I always say we are not afraid of the darkness, my friend. We are afraid of the light. And Simon shows that in this moment, that really to be the rock, in my mind, would signify the darkness. And you're probably like, what are you talking about? But what I hear the rock being in this moment is the fixer. Trying to fix it, trying to get Thomas to ignore the darkness that is coming up, which means to shove it back into the closet, which the ego loves, because then it can just run however it wants from the closet instead of out in the light where it's dispelled. So Simon, just like many of us, I mean, I've experienced this as well, where someone is grappling with something that you yourself have grappled with. You know what it feels like inside to truly believe that that is happening to you. And he doesn't know how to just get Thomas to not feel this, how to get Thomas to just be happy again so that he is not reminded of those moments of his own pain. But the problem is here, it's not about not remembering those moments, about not identifying with them. And that's truly what being a lighthouse is, being the light, being with someone in their moment of darkness, holding the light for them so that it can dispel, because what we expect when we are in this place of darkness is to see a mirror of darkness, to see a mirror that reiterates all the narratives that keep us stuck in the darkness, which, you know, there's so many, but one of them we see playing out right here is like the strength. If Simon shows up with the strength, Thomas will get over this. And yes, he's not saying those words, and consciously that's not what he's believing, but that is really what is attempting to be acted out, because he wants to project out his own discomfort of the thought of stepping into the light. If he just steps into the light, he is the mirror of Christ for Thomas. So when we have that mirror of Christ's light, you don't stay in the darkness very long, because darkness cannot survive in light. Darkness cannot exist in light. So that when you are not reflecting back the darkness you are seeking, the darkness you are experiencing, you begin to question its validity. If this is my experience, but yet Simon is showing up with this grand empathy and just love and light, and he's not trying to fix me, that means I get to feel it all. And when I get to allow all of the darkness to bubble up, eventually it goes out. Eventually it leaves. So I had this crazy, beautiful experience, a mushroom trip I did before my 39th birthday. And I haven't done a mushroom trip since. Actually, that was really the last pivotal moment. Shortly later, I found the course and I was like, man, it's like I'm on mushrooms every day, but I'm not taking mushrooms anymore. So anyway, that's besides the point. But it was this profound experience of, I was crying so hard, I began to laugh. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Back the bus up. You mean I can cry so hard I laugh? I mean, we always talk about you can laugh so hard you cry, but we never talk about the other way. And to me, what the other way is everything we constantly avoid. Because who has ever really allowed themselves or someone else to cry that long that it actually turned into a laugh? That is few and far between, because, friend, you have to be willing to detach yourself from the darkness that is coming up. And that's what that mushroom trip did for me. I was able to detach and fully be the observer and just watch these emotions come through and transform and transcend, right? Let's use the new age terms. Transform and transcend. And that's exactly what they did. And now I experience that all the time, that I'm able to bring myself into the observer as I really watch these emotions come up and transcend, transform into almost like, what was I worried about in the first place? Why does this actually matter? Because it is not truth. And not to negate your feelings. Yes, your feelings feel very valid in this moment. So that is not what we are doing here. But what I'm doing here is helping you to see that the longer you allow them to come up and not identify with them and truly become the observer, they will transform and transcend. And you will actually see that the only reason why they felt so weighty was the story you had behind it. And it's not a story you usually want to live by. It is a false sense of beliefs that have been placed on you to keep you stuck. So how does this relate to Simon? Because Ashley, of course, has gone off on a tangent. But the way it relates is because that is what Jesus is asking Simon to do in that moment. For Simon to be the light that allows Thomas to feel every range, but to not, like, Simon will be the one that doesn't identify Thomas with it. So what does that look like? That looks like not judging Thomas. That looks like not categorizing Thomas. That also looks like not justifying any of Thomas's emotions. You can acknowledge them, but the second you play into them and you justify them, you make them real. And it's not about saying, oh, Thomas, this is a bunch of crap, these aren't real, but it's about not feeding the dragon and holding space for the dragon. That's such a different thing. That is truly what holding space is, which I have a video on that. But it's really this ability for Simon to sit and be the light in this moment, for Thomas not to feed the darkness, not to rip open the darkness, not to judge the darkness that he's experiencing, but to hold the light for when Thomas is ready for his transformation of his pain and suffering into joy and love, because it has fully been released and unidentified with. And you see over the next, I don't know, it's probably going to even continue into season 5. Thomas still is struggling greatly with Rama's death. And the anger and the sadness and all this that's coming up. But remember, everything in this illusion is for the opportunity of forgiveness. Whether it's forgiving, 2 separate words, F-O-R, giving, or it's forgiving, right? 1 word. The realization that it's not actually what you believe it is. You are never upset for the reason you believe. So this moment, yes, as tragic as it feels and hard, this death of Rama is really just a like play, a overshadow. I don't want to say smoke and mirrors, but that's really what it is. But that just like allows you to heal the deeper level of shame and guilt through forgiveness of this projection, this play, this movie in this moment, just like, through the lens right now, like we're healing through watching. We're healing through the lens of observing something completely different than what's going on within us. And we're watching as things come up, and we're talking about them and how they relate and how we can allow them to move through us. So that's what Jesus really shares with Simon. And my question, how often do you have friends or family or even yourself that's upset and you're quick to be like, nope, not valid. This is not valid to feel this way. I shouldn't, all those narratives come in and you cut it short. Well, all you've done by cutting it short is you've not made yourself stronger. You have not made yourself wiser. You have not made yourself any of those errors that you believe deep down you have. But instead, what you've done is you stuck it in the closet, and it's going to come out later, maybe even bigger, maybe even multiplied, like the movie The Gremlins, right? They multiply if you feed them at night. They multiply in the darkness, and that's what occurs when we don't truly allow these things to come through and to not identify with them. Yes, at the beginning you may, but as you allow them to come through, you no longer identify. And that's why it's wonderful to have a safe space, a person that you can go to that gives you that space to just free yourself through. And eventually you will be that person for yourself and for others, just like Simon can for Thomas in this moment. Simon, in the moment of the miscarriage, that's when Jesus walked on water, and Simon fell in the water and had to have the faith to grab Jesus' hand and to trust that it was all a part of the plan, right? And that is how Simon worked through it, because Jesus held the light for him. Jesus will hold the light for all of us. And that gives us the opportunity to hold the light for others, to be witness to Christ, to be witness to truth, to be the mirror of truth and not mirror back the darkness to everyone else. Oh Oh my gosh, that was such a wonderful episode in representation. I think we all are super quick to try to make someone feel better or try to make ourselves shut up or feel better, when in reality, it's counterproductive. Try to become the observer or be the observer for someone else. Do not feed the darkness. Instead, be the lighthouse, right? Be the lighthouse. Please post below, how did this episode resonate with you? How do you show up in the world for yourself and others? And totally cool, be honest. I used to believe it was super awkward and still sometimes feel it when emotions get strong. I'm like, I want to shut them down. But I know how powerful it is to like take the seat into the observer, go to the movie theater with Jesus and begin to watch everything unfold. And I have a beautiful representation that I can bring myself back to as a remembrance of that moment that I cried so hard I laughed. So if you need something to hold on to, remember that there's always the possibility, an opportunity for you or your friend or whoever you're with to cry so hard you will laugh. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. As always, I am so grateful for you. And please, please, please remember you are worth it. Much love. Bye-bye.